Hey, 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 here we are. It is Monday night, and the good old Tilt team is back again to bring you your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration and sometimes training. And tonight we're going to talk about something special, gratitude. And it's how to practice your gratitude with your attitude. How to practice gratitude for your attitude. That's it. There you go. Like Nettie's a little bit mixed up tonight, and I apologize for that. But what gratitude? Gratitude is always the same, isn't it? But before I get into that, I just want to welcome you all here tonight and thank you so much for showing up as you always do. And to the new ones that have shown up tonight, thank you again. Um, Please say hi in the chat roll so that we can say hi back to you. You're going to find that the lovely people that do show up here in the chat roll, my goodness, they're the friendliest bunch that you'd ever want to run across. So stick yourself out there and say hi to them all. And like I said at the beginning, we do this for all of you, the doer, the dreamer, the entrepreneur, and we hope that our hangouts every single week just give you that little bit of extra push to get you through to the next week. And maybe you're going to hear something tonight that is just going to help you sail through the following week. I certainly hope so. But it is about gratitude tonight, and I mean, I I just want to say, like in the United States, last Thursday was Thanksgiving, a time for thanks and a time for giving. And a lot of people just look at that as a big old meal. You know, here it's turkey time or ham time or whatever it is you're cooking. But there's so much more meaning to the situation of thankfulness at Thanksgiving time. And with Thanksgiving, it does lead us into Christmas. And that's what I want to talk about sort of just briefly before I get going is how you can relate gratitude and yourself to the universe. Well, let's take Christmas for an example. And if you're anything like me, and I think the majority of people are, you love going out there and you might spend hours finding that perfect gift or wrapping it a perfect way or just getting that special gift that person you know really, really wanted. And you give it to them for Christmas and it says it all. Their face says it all. They just light up like the Christmas tree. And all you want back from them is just nothing but a simple, oh my goodness, thanks. That's all you want. Like you get more out of giving than you do from taking. And that's the way the universe is to us. If you want to call it the universe, if you want to call it God, if you want to call it Buddha, whatever you call it, that's all he wants from us is just to say thanks, you know, because he gives us everything in our own life to help us get through the meaning of life. And that's the simplest way I can explain it, how great you feel at Christmas time when you see somebody open something special. He feels so great when he sees us happy. And it's all about saying thank you to him or the universe or whatever it is that you want to call it. So if one of the things that I did want to say to you is what you're grateful for. You know, are you grateful that you aren't the Sri Lankan man that I spoke to earlier, the one on the phone that I had a complaint with? Maybe he wasn't Sri Lankan, maybe he was Indian or Bangladesh, but he was something over there. And are you grateful that you weren't him? Are you grateful for the eyes to watch this hangout? Are you grateful for being the kind of person that hears what we're saying so far? Are you grateful for having the fingers to use your computer? And are you grateful for not being the child in a developing country that just died while I said that last sentence? Deep. Are you grateful for not being one of those people on my database or watching this that gets angry with me for saying lines like I just said a few minutes ago? Or are you grateful that I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt? Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that one in to see if you're awake. But are you grateful for the fact that you still have time to say what you've always wanted to say? Think about that one. Are you grateful for that fact? Are you grateful for the opportunities to contemplate the things that you are grateful for? That's deep too. And are you grateful for all the crappy parts of your life? I know that's probably got you sort of shaking your head, but are you grateful for the laughter that you had today? And are you grateful for being a person who gives the truth when it's asked for? And if you aren't that person, are you grateful for being a person who still has the opportunity to become that person? Like life provides us with thousands of opportunities to be grateful every single day. And all I'm asking is don't miss them. Don't miss those opportunities. There are so many people who would give anything to be grateful for the things that sometimes we're not grateful for. Now let me ask you something else. You can be grateful, but do you say thank you enough? And if you do you say it with the sincerity that it really honestly requires? So you can be grateful, but do you thank? So, okay, here's the big question. Do you even know what you should be thankful for? I get that you are smart enough to know that you should be thankful for the person who holds the door open for you. But what about the person who really goes out of their way for you? What about that person who throws you a birthday party, or the one who takes time to share a funny story with you? Or what about the one who gives you your job if you're working a job? Did they choose you, or did they have others that they could have chosen? Have you ever been thankful for the choices that have been made when it concerns your life? You know, every day when I'm driving into work that I have had to do the last 3 months, or when I'm coming home at night, I sometimes will see an accident. And you know what? Typically on those days, I have left late. I leave every day at 8 o'clock, and sometimes I don't get out the door till maybe 10 after 8. And I'll be going to work and I'll see an accident on the side of the road. And you know what I say? Thank you. Thank you for making me late today, because that very much could have been me. So, you know, that was kind of a choice that I made to be late that day, and it worked out well. But back to when you say thank you, what do your eyes say when you say the words thank you? When they come out of your mouth, are you believable, or do you come across as a person who's simply just going through the motions of what society has taught you to do? Or do you know the answer to that? I mean, so many times we just flippantly say, oh, gee, thanks, you know. But do you really think? Like, do you ever turn to the girl that packs your groceries in the grocery store and say, thank you? And really look at them and say it with your eyes. So this week I want to leave you with two thoughts. Firstly, I ask that you consider the idea of going out of your way to say thank you for all that comes into your life that you can appreciate. Go out of your way to say thank you for everything that comes into your life that you can appreciate. And secondly, I'm going to ask you to do something that might make you a little bit uncomfortable, because I'm going to ask you to be thankful for all the crappy things that have happened in your life. All the crappy things, okay? I want you to be thankful for the person that maybe cheated on you, or the person who fired you unfairly, or for the situation that you wished never happened. I want you to be thankful for all of that. You're sitting there right now and you know exactly those rotten things that have happened in your life that you wished had never happened. Be thankful for that. I realize that this might seem a little weird as an exercise, but I can tell you that it's one of the healthiest things that you can do in this lifetime. Because remember this, if you are thankful for the little things, you are sending a clear message to the universe that says you appreciate these things and that you are open to more of those things coming your way. If you are not thankful, then those things, they'll no longer come to you. If you're not thankful, they won't happen. See? If you are thankful for the crappy things that happen in your life, you will send a clear message to the universe that you are open for growth and you're open to experience life on its deepest levels. I know people who are dying of a disease who are thankful for that disease because it allowed them to experience life on a level they would never have experienced if it wasn't for that disease. Can you believe that? Like my own daughter-in-law, before she passed away, she didn't know she was still sick. She thought she was cured. But she said, I wouldn't have changed a thing for this past year because so many amazing things came into her life that wouldn't have come. And she was so thankful for that. But life will bring you sweetness and sorrow, but be thankful for all of it because all of it gives you a chance to live the way that you want to live a good life. And that's about all I got to say to you guys tonight. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Zen and let her take it away on her take on gratitude.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm grateful I have a great Wi-Fi connection. That's awesome. Because we never know here, do we? And I was going to start out talking about my adventures and misadventures here with Wi-Fi. But now that you went down the crappy road, I'm going to give you a couple of other stories. And my heart is pounding now, but got tissues ready. When I was young, 16, I lost 2 friends, one to cancer and one in a car accident. But I am grateful to have known them. 1 second. Also, when I was 17, I was in a major car accident, and I haven't thought about it or talked about it ever, really, because it was pretty scary. There were 6 of us in a car, and I was reminded of it for 10 years because it was the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut, which was all guardrails and then cement over overpasses. 10 feet before that overpass, we hit the center guardrail, flipped over 3 times, and ended up with the car sideways. I walked out the back window of that car. I was the only one really with no injuries at all. Everybody else, broke a few bones, some lacerations, nothing major, thank goodness. But in that, give me a minute. Sorry. In those moments in the hospital, they released me right away, but I was visiting my friends. And the first trooper on the scene, because I had walked to a house and a guy kind of saw the car in his way back driveway. We had rolled off into the back wilderness of this man's house. The first trooper that came on the scene said to me, "I know your father." And I said, "Oh, okay." My father was a cop. And he said, "You're all very lucky to be alive." And I said, "No, I know." And he said, "No. Do you get that?" And I said, "Yeah, I get that." But over the next few days, that's exactly all I heard from everybody. Do you have any understanding how lucky you are? I'm sorry. But yes, and I guess that's why to this day I do see the good and the beauty and everything, because I lost 2 friends. I lived, and things come and people come and go, but the gratefulness to have had them in your life is just amazing. I got to have those two people, and the girl was a Lily. She was a Lillian also. The two Lilies sat next to each other in biology. And that year, she crashed. And her dad worked with my mother. And he was devastated, of course, everyone was. But I got to school every day for the next 2 months and had an empty chair next to me. My Lily was gone. And it was very weird. But then I would sit there and think about all the fun stuff we used to talk about and how cool she was. Give me 1 second. And her dad told my mother it was so cool that I would walk around still talking about Lily. And so, see, to me, the gratefulness of having that kind of spirit, wow, I really didn't plan to go down this road, but now that I'm on it, I'll move on to my second story. And this is the first time I have ever told this story. My father passed away 2 weeks before my daughter was born, 16 years ago. It'll be 17, January 15th, and he passed away on the 4th of January. And I was 9.5 months pregnant. And we were close, and so I was obviously devastated. But as I sat in a doctor's office, because I wanted to plan a flight when I was 9.5 months pregnant, here's my then husband and the doctor discussing me as if I'm not in the room, and I sat up finally and I said, you know, you two can talk until your faces turn blue, but if you don't get me a computer so I can book a flight now, I'm going to get really mad. So let's go, okay? Because I want to go bury my father. That's the end of the story. I don't care if I deliver this kid on the plane, okay? So that's what I did, and I got there, and I was very grateful because so many people came up to me to talk about my father. And if I missed that, wow, that would have been devastating. But when you think about that, I never told this story because, you know, when women talk about their pregnancies, that would come to mind first, and it wasn't my best memory, or it would shut down the room. And really, I was grateful that if he was going to pass away, that was the best time because I got this bundle of joy on the back end of it, and she looked like my father, and I looked like my father, so of course she looked like me. And I would look at her and just think, okay, what can I be grateful for? I'm grateful that he knew she was on the way because I chose to have a child later in life, and he was always, grandchild Lily. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I'm really not into having kids. Sorry. And then suddenly, you know, I changed my mind. And so Lily was on the way, and he was thrilled about that because I'm named after his favorite sister. And so he was so grateful. And see, these little things that you can find to be grateful about. I'm grateful that I had my father for 75 years. Would it have been better to have him for 10 more? Yes. My daughter would have gotten to know him and all that. But I talk about him, and it's so funny because she calls him Grandpa Emil because I talk about him, and she goes, I wonder what he would think. And I think that. Some people walk around wondering, what would Jesus think? I always think, what would Emil think about that? So now I'll lead to what I was going to talk about. Wow, that took a turn. Thank you for bearing with me. I was going to talk about my wonky Wi-Fi here. And give me a second. I just have to. Wow, that was very emotional for me. So thanks for bearing with me. My wonky Wi-Fi here has just, I mean, it could be a setback, but every single time that I start to feel annoyance or aggravation come up, I go, okay, what have you got to be grateful for here? You know what? I'm grateful as all get out that I am on this travel adventure, that I get to live in a different place outside of America. I love America, but I love being out also. I just love interacting with other cultures. And I don't know if you saw my post about the mango lady, but every day we have a conversation. She speaks in Chinese, I speak in English, we both giggle, and I just say yes. Same thing with, I have a housekeeper who comes every 3 weeks because it's super cheap here. I always overpay her. But everything, she'll say entire sentences in Chinese at me, and I look at her and I think, I don't know what she said, but yes. And she looks so happy, and she runs off and does whatever it is that I said yes to. And I'm just so grateful to have these kinds of experiences in my life. And when you look at things like, what I was talking about, the deaths of young friends, you can never make sense of it. But I'm grateful for the life lessons that they gave to me and other people in their lives that were left in the wake of them being gone. Even her dad, my mother told me, over the next year or two, even though he was devastated, he became a much kinder person. So maybe it was compassion he needed to learn for other people. And maybe he didn't have that before his daughter passed away. Now, that's a high price to pay, and I'm making a leap there. But I'm just saying that the life lessons in gratitude there's multitudes of layers there. So try to find the good and the beauty in everything, because there's even beauty in the pain and struggle of life sometimes. If you can admire it and take the life lesson and the beauty of the fact that you feel, because some people numb down their feelings so they don't feel anything anymore because life devastates them. The fact that you can feel that pain of loss is beauty in and of itself, if you can reflect on that long enough, because that is deep. But finding the gratitude and having known that person at all, because I'm thrilled that I had a father like I had. He was awesome. And yeah, he was just, I loved him. Still do. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I just personally want to speak for probably everybody out there. There's nothing more humbling than seeing somebody speak from the heart as you did. And, it just warms us all when we see that. And I'm glad that you feel that you can trust all of us enough to share this experience. And I'm sure by sharing it, you've helped somebody else out there too. So hats off to you. Thank you so much. And never be afraid to show that side. So kudos. Morgan, did you want to go now?
Yeah, sure. While the baby's crying, it's probably a good idea.
I see there's two of you there.
Yeah, I've had to turn on the nursery rhymes on the TV so that they can be occupied for 10 minutes while I talk. It's always a good way to be occupied. I totally agree with you, Nettie, what you said about Zen just now. I had no idea that you. I came in halfway through the story, so I might have it wrong, but I had no idea that you had had a near-death experience, which is just totally scary. And I always remember you saying to me, Zen, that because you're such a positive person, you don't like, not that you don't like, but you're not used to sharing your struggles because you kind of just, put it to the side and get on with life because it's just, and I'm quite similar to you in that regard. And for you to share something like that, it's quite a big deal. So that's really awesome that you could say that and that you cried on the 2 hour. That's awesome. I think that's really, really great. So gratitude. Well, what can I say about gratitude? I've been just speaking from my own experience in the last 2 years, having these two little things. I've gone through some really amazing times, but I've also had some really, really difficult times. And for me, the thing that gets me through tough times is comparison. So I always, and I know, comparing yourself to other people, it might not seem like it's the best thing because you're kind of elevating your position, but in a way, in your own mind, I think it's a really, really useful way to get through a situation. So, for example, like in the first sort of 6 months of their lives, it was just like I was a first-time mum. It was absolutely crazy. They would just cry all the time. One of them had reflux and colic, and the other one was pretty good. But it was just day and night, like just constantly relentless. My husband was at work all day and half the night, and I had my mum to help me out, which, thank God. But there was some days when I was just like, when is this going to end? Like, when am I going to have any moment to breathe and not get 3 hours sleep? And, as every new mother I'm sure goes through, like, I'm not saying that having twins is any harder than having one child, because I think you just adapt to what and I think having one child will be just as difficult. But in those situations, I had to remind myself, how lucky am I to actually have 2 babies, because I've got quite a few friends who they're only, like they're getting to like 32, 34, and they're getting a little bit older, and they're having a lot of difficulty getting pregnant. And I don't know why that is, but lots of them are going under, IVF, which is in New Zealand, it's like a fertility treatment. And they're having such a lot of pain in that area of their life because they're trying so hard to get pregnant. It's been a couple of years, and I can't imagine having to go through that, and I think that would be a lot more difficult. So in those situations, I use that comparison to make myself feel better. I'm thinking, at least I've got, and I don't have to go through another pregnancy if I don't want to. I can just have the 2. I've got my little maid family. So that's an example of how you can take something that you're going through that for you in the moment is really, really challenging, and try and look to somebody else that you either know or that you can see in the distance that's going through something worse than yourself, and just spin it that way. And you don't need to talk to this person about it. It's just in your own mind, because then you can just say to yourself, look what they're going through, and what I'm going through compared to that is not as bad. So that's like my first, that's my first big tip that I do. I wrote down a couple of notes. The next thing I wanted to say is that gratitude is a practiced habit. It's not, some people are more optimistic naturally, I think, but I also think that the people that you think are more naturally optimistic are actually, it's a practiced habit, okay? So it's something that they've made a decision that they're going to be a positive person, and they practice gratitude as a natural thing. So if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, I'm a bit on the negative side, I'm always, half, that the glass is half empty type thing, say to yourself that you can get into this, you can become this person that practices gratitude. It's just literally a habit, and there's a few things you can do every day to get yourself into a person that has the habit of practicing gratitude. One of the cool things that I like to do is in the morning, and I got this off a website actually. The first thing I do every single morning is make a coffee. Like, I just cannot survive without my coffee in the morning. Like, I have to have like 3 coffees before 10 o'clock, which is terrible for my health, but it's just how I am. So that's fine. But anyway, so what I do in the morning is I just love my coffee so much that you can feel grateful for just something simple like a cup of coffee. And this website that I was reading, hey, we're on the telly, we're on the TV, we're famous. Okay. You can be grateful for the little things in a cup of coffee. So the warm mug, the coffee, just go through each of the things, the taste, the smell, and that kind of gets you off to a good start of your day, because it's like it's a habit that you get into. So you pour your cup of coffee, you sit down, and you're like, just for literally 10 seconds, just go through all the characteristics of your cup of coffee and just feel grateful, even if it's just for 10 seconds, because that gets you off to like a really, really good start to your day. There's other things you can do, like write a gratitude letter. So has there been somebody in your life in the past who has really, really helped you, but you never really felt like you gave them enough thanks? You never really felt like you could have done more to say thank you. Why don't you get a piece of paper and write them a gratitude letter? It might be your mum, it might be your granddad who's passed away, or it might be a teacher you had at high school or whatever. And write down a gratitude letter for everything, every characteristic they had that brought positive things and circumstances into your life, and just write it and just pretend that you're going to send it to them, and that kind of brings it out in you. So it's just literally just doing activities like that bring out the gratitude. Just before I go, because I won't stay on too much longer, I just wanted to quickly go over why you should practice gratitude. So people, it's kind of a corny thing to say, like, let's practice gratitude. It's kind of like a cliche, just be grateful, but what is the point of being grateful? What is the point of being grateful? And for me, it's when you are feeling grateful, whether you've kind of whether it's natural, whether it's just something that's happened because something great's just happened to you, like you might have just bought a new car and you feel really grateful, or whether you've practiced yourself into that position. Being grateful, when you're feeling grateful, you're in alignment, okay? And this goes back to the law of attraction. So you're in alignment with the universe, and when you're in alignment, you're going towards the things that you want in life, your goals, your hopes, your dreams, whatever you have put in your path, you're going towards that. So you need to be in alignment, and that's how you get in alignment, by being grateful. Okay, so that's the point of being grateful. When you are grateful, there's no resistance. So you're not, you've got no resistance, because you're in an open position. You've got your creativity flowing to you. You've got, you don't have your creativity blocked, which can affect everything. Decisions you make, moving forward in life, all of that. So you want to be open to the universe to provide you with that creativity, and that all comes to you when you're in a grateful position. So best way to get in alignment, best way to start to attract things that you want, is to just feel grateful and start to do that on a daily basis, moving forward. And that's probably all I've got to say on the subject. So we're going to go now. So I'll pass you back to Nettie. Thanks, Nettie.
Thanks, Morgan. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more about being thankful every day, because I personally think that it puts you into a happy state, into a much, if you're grateful, you can't be negative. You just can't have, you can be grateful for crappy things, but you're still being a positive type person. So I think it just changes your whole mood swing. So what you just said there about getting into that kind of mode every day, you're absolutely right on that one. So thanks for sharing that tip. But
hey, Nettie?
Yeah.
Can I jump out for a second and tell you a quick story about a gratitude letter?
Yeah, of course.
This is funny. When I was 16, Morgan, you'll laugh at this, because I was trying to get in alignment with gratitude even back then, after all those things that I just mentioned. But I wrote a gratitude letter to my mother, and I had been in kind of a rebellious stage after that accident and everything. I was just feeling like, I don't know, I think I was scared and upset, and I don't know what I was doing, and I didn't have anybody to talk to, but I was grateful for her. So I wrote her this long letter, and I put it in her handbag at like midnight. And then by 6 in the morning, I thought, no, that was too corny. I can't disclose that much to my mother. So I ran out to her handbag, and I went to snag it back, and as I was walking down the hallway, she goes, "You can have it back. I already read it." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "I heard you come out at midnight, and I heard the rumpling of paper." So I came out, looked in my handbag, sat down, read the letter, put it back in my handbag. So you know what? Yeah. Go ahead and write a letter of gratitude to whoever. Put it in their handbag, mail it to them, or keep it to yourself. Either way, everybody ends up feeling good. But I thought that was hilarious, because I was just I wanted to guard my feelings even back then, and I just, I let it all out on that paper too, and she read it, because I guess she said, "Hey, I got to snag my moments wherever I can with you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now that I have a 16-year-old, I understand exactly what she means. And I'll hand it back to you, Nettie.
Thanks for sharing that, Zen. That's hilarious. How we change, like every decade, how much we change, and how you've changed from in your teens to now being in your 30s. You've changed a lot. So, anyways, Kristen, you want to talk to us?
Of course. Yeah. So, of course, this happens to me every time we come out and talk. I have something planned, but of course I have to comment on what everyone else has said, because, of course, then with her stories and making me cry, and then it's just more than that. It makes me relive some of those moments in my own life where you don't think you're going to make it, you don't think you're going to survive, and you think it's the end, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that in those situations you really have two choices. You have that choice to curl up and die, literally, or not literally, but figuratively, I should probably say, where you just give up on life and say, you know what, my life is over, there's no point in going on. Or you embrace what is left and you start building from there. And so I kind of got to thinking about that, and gratitude to me is about seeing, of course, the good in everything. And when you go through those moments in life, there's always a reason. I've said this before, and I can attest from my own personal life of things that have happened. We don't always understand why something happens. And we might never truly understand. But I also can say that sometimes throughout life, all of a sudden puzzle pieces start being put together. And, because Okay, I'm going to start rambling, but I have a point to get to. You know, in my own life, I had stuff happen, and I would not be sitting here, and they were like literally the worst things that have ever happened in my life. Things that I never would have expected, things that I could never have imagined. But if those had not happened, I would not be sitting here today. I would not know any of you. I can honestly tell you with 100% certainty that I would not be here. So that's where it comes to gratitude. If in those moments when you think life has changed and life is never going to be the same, if you allow that to impact you in a negative manner and you don't see the good and you don't embrace the good and you don't keep building yourself up, if I had done that, I wouldn't be here either. But because I didn't allow those situations to break me or break my family, I'm sitting here today. So my point is gratitude is about embracing the lessons life has to give you. Life is all about learning. Life is going to throw you curveballs, and if you find the gratitude in it all, and you find what to be thankful for, you're learning the lessons that life has meant to give you. So that's my first point on what Zen had to say. And then Morgan said, gratitude is all about recognition. It's all about seeing the good. It's all about acknowledging that there is always good. You know, just recently over Thanksgiving, I got onto Facebook literally on Thanksgiving Day here in America, and I had 3 people who had lost loved ones within the last 24 hours. And I'm that person where, of course, I always give my condolences, but I always say a little prayer. And I always say, you know what? I'm going to write down that I'm sorry for their loss, but in my heart, I just say a little prayer and I tell them how grateful I am that they had that experience with their loved one. You know, so many times we look at our loss, and if we can switch that around to like what Zen said, that even more powerful than the loss is what we had to gain. I'll never forget, I watched a news show about, she was a famous Olympian snowboarder or something. She brought some, I don't know, something. The mom, and she died. She got into an accident, skiing, broke her neck. And her mom talked, and she said, you know, I always thought the worst thing that could ever have happened to me was that I'd lose my daughter. The moment I lost my daughter, I realized that the worst thing that could ever happen to me is not having her at all. And all of a sudden, it just opened my eyes to see what gratitude really is all about, to really see what life is all about. And so what's the point of all this? Why should we practice gratitude? Like Morgan touched on. It's because life is good. We weren't meant to suffer through life. We were just talking about this, me and my dad, over the holidays. You know, that life is not meant to. Sometimes I see people, I'm like, they're waiting to die. They're literally just living life and suffering through. Okay, I grew up in church and Christians, and we're all just waiting to go to heaven when life is all grand. And they're completely missing the point that it starts here. Life begins here. Heaven begins here. Life is good. And when you can embrace gratitude and you can make it a habit, you stop suffering through life, okay? So that's everything I have to say that came to mind when everyone else spoke. So I'm going to completely do a 180 and go in a completely different direction and share with you what I actually had planned for you tonight. Because thinking about gratitude, you know, we're also here for business purposes, right? We're here on this panel because of business. You're watching because of business. So I wanted to share with you, if you're new, I wanted to share a little bit of what we do. And so I want to do that in a way of sharing with you what I'm grateful for in my business. Because in doing that, you'll start to understand what it is that we actually do. So if you're new, you'll start being like, okay, what the heck are these people talking about? Like, I thought this was a business thing, and here they are, like, you know, rambling. So anyways, I want to do that for the new person. And for people who are already here, hopefully, my hope is that as I walk through this, you might have some shifts. You might see a little bit of a new perspective. Something that you were resistant to before, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I can get this. Because so many times it's all about just reframing and shifting our mind. And instead of seeing the negative, we see the positive. And I will put this disclaimer up there, okay? I'm not perfect. A lot of the time when I got on this, I always laugh. After we get off, I'm like, yep, I just preached to myself. So listen, you're not alone with these struggles. So this is what I'm grateful for in my business, the lessons I've learned over the last 4 years. And I'm going to walk through them quickly. But again, hopefully you'll get an idea of what it is that we do here. And also, maybe if you've already been a part of it, you'll just have a few little shifts in reframing. So number one, I'm grateful for this business and the opportunity to invest in myself. That means actually spending money on myself. Why am I grateful for that? Because if I wasn't in this business, I would be spending money anyways on pointless things that do not matter, that do not change my life. The new sneakers that are up that I'm getting ready to order, they're not going to change my life. But that product I bought, that's going to change my life. My, teaching and learning, that's going to change my life. So I'm grateful for the fact that I had to spend thousands of dollars to build a business. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for residual income because prior to this business, I had no idea what freaking residual income was. I was taught you go to college, you get a job, and you work for a paycheck. I thought that was life. I had no idea. To be honest with you, I probably had never even really heard of the term residual income. But here in this business, we have the opportunity to build up residual income. If you don't know what that means, go Google it and look it up, and you will be amazed. And before you know it, you'll be coming back to us being like, how do I get in? Because I need to build a residual income. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for learning what applied knowledge is. Somebody once said that knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power, or something like that. And so I'm grateful for this business because it has taught me what applied knowledge is and what it can do for you. You can all attest to this, that if you come into this business and you learn something and you do not apply it, it's pointless. You might as well not have wasted those 2 hours learning it because it's not going to help you unless you apply it. And I look back at going through high school and going through college, and let me tell you, it was not applied knowledge because I can't even tell you what classes I took because I literally just learned it in order to pass the test. So that is just knowledge that was pointless because it got buried in my brain a long, long time ago. I probably actually burnt the files and they're gone. I am grateful to have access to $1 million earners, people who have made $1 million. Why? Because I have my own goals, and I recognize that I can't meet them alone. The work, it comes back on me, but you have to have people to follow. So I'm grateful for leaders. I'm grateful for people who have already come before me. And when you begin to find gratitude for these people and show your appreciation, you stop comparing yourself, you stop getting jealous or envious, and you start actually listening. And you stop, everyone, Sean, if you're listening, I almost swore, but I'm not going to because otherwise I get a test. I get a little text afterwards, haha, you did it again. So I was going to say BSing, so I'll put that in there. You're going to stop BSing around and you're going to actually listen to these people if you can embrace the gratitude of what they have to teach you. I'm grateful for the community. I'm grateful for events. So many people complain, oh my gosh, another event, I have to spend more money to go to this event. I'm grateful for that. Because where else? Before this, okay, when I went to a job, I had people at work. Everyone I knew was in a 10-mile radius. All of a sudden, my world has opened up to the whole world. My life is no longer in my town. My life is this world. And I'm connected to people in Australia and New Zealand and Europe and everywhere. That's amazing. You will not find that anywhere else except for here, to be able to connect to these people, into the community, into the team. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for online real estate. Crazy as it sounds, but, again, you go to a job and your real estate is a cubicle in which you can get evicted from any moment, anytime. There's no guarantees. They literally could just show up with a box and say, you're out. Your online real estate's not going to go anywhere, which is why we blog, which is why we build up social media, which I guess social media could go, but you get my point, that what we're building here is longevity, and nobody can take it away, except for, maybe politicians if they want to close us down, but that's a whole nother negativity. So anyways, gratitude is all what we're about. So online real estate, we're building something that no one can take away. a blog, a website, residual income, nobody can take that away. And to sum it all up, if you apply all of these, again, the applied knowledge, I'm grateful for the tools, I'm grateful for the training, and I'm grateful for the skills. Because God forbid I ever did have to go to a job, guess what? I'm a whole lot more valuable today than I was the day I graduated from college with a degree. Because of that knowledge, because of being surrounded by those millionaires, because of this community, because of what we do, my value has increased. So I'm grateful, I'm so grateful that it's not, you know, these skills, they're not just good for what we do right here in our you know, actual company that we're a part of, but they can be used anywhere. And I'm grateful that, last thing, I'm grateful that we're talking about gratitude, because when I first got into this industry, I struggled a lot because it was traditional network marketing, and they preached this dream of becoming a millionaire, of living this dream lifestyle. But the only thing they told us to do was to get through, to get through, to get through. Nobody got onto a hangout and said you need to practice gratitude. Nobody taught mindset. It wasn't until this community came along into my life that that I learned all of this, and it's life-changing. It is absolutely life-changing if you embrace it and if you apply it. So I'm going to end it there, and I'm just going to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I might not say this often enough, I might not reach out to all of you personally enough, but I am so grateful for you. You guys don't understand that each and every one of you has changed my life, and you continue to impact it every single time I get onto Facebook. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. And thank you to this panel. You ladies, you save my life sometimes. You know, you guys are just amazing. So thank you. And I'll pass it back on to Nettie.
Kristen, you are on fire tonight. That was just brilliant. Man, out there, if you guys didn't get what she was talking about, you must have had earphones on or something, because thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, everybody's done a wonderful job tonight. But I like your take on gratitude, Kristen. You told us before the hangout you were going to do something a little different with it, and you did. You really, really knocked it out of the park. So thank you so much. And you're right. Something good always comes out of something bad, you know, so keep your eye open to that. But hey, Erica, I would love it if you could say a few things to us, too.
How does one follow that? I mean, really, how do you follow that? Oh, Kristen, sweetheart, you brought your A game tonight, darling. Wow. I just wrote in the chat, what a powerful speaker. Like, I mean, I have notes, but I'm like, I think we could just end it there. Like, really. But I just, you know, I have two little things I want to share. And everyone's touched on this tonight. Even, you know, when you're in your darkest moments, right? There's always something to be grateful for, always. And I just want to share one thing that relates to me personally, and one thing I remember hearing a motivational speaker share. And, you know, not how long ago? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, you know, with Alex and I in the background that we don't share, because, as you know, you don't share your struggles, right, until you're through them. And part of it is part of his story, which when he's ready, he'll share, right? But the last 2 years have been really, really challenging, right, from a personal level. And, you know, there are some things that, you know, there are some things that money can't fix, right? And there are some things that they can't be fixed with a tangible solution. They have to be fixed with something ethereal, right? And you can pray and you can hope and, you know, you can put all of your energy into a positive outcome, right? But at the end of the day, it's in someone else's hands, and you just got to give it up. You just got to give it up and just have faith, right? And one of my prayers that I say every single night before I go to sleep goes a little bit like this. And if you've heard me before, you'll know this little prayer I say. I thank God for my blessings, and I thank God for my husband, my dog, a roof over my head, running water, and food in my belly. because I know that if I have those 5 things, I'm going to be okay. If I wake up in the morning and I still have those 5 things, I'm going to be okay, right? When you are faced with maybe losing things that you can't imagine losing, and you touch base with what's really, really important, you realize how massively, abundantly wealthy you are. Again, for me, it's my husband, my dog, the roof over my head, electricity, and food in my belly. Oh, and running water, I beg your pardon. There's 6 things, okay? Because I know if I have those things, I'm rich beyond imagination. And here's the funny thing about that. When you show up in life, massively grateful for the most basic of necessities, all of a sudden, I know abundance starts to flourish around you, right? It's like you turn on this beautiful ball of sunshine from here, right? And you just radiate it out. Just amazing things start happening, right? But here's the trick. The trick is to have massive gratitude when the shit is hitting the fan all around you, right? And I think everyone tonight's touched on that, to find the beauty in the chaos, to find the beauty in the madness, to find the beauty in despair, right? Because when you come out the other side and you get that positive result, or you get that high five, or you get whatever it is that you're waiting for, you look back through the shit that you've crawled through, and you're like, wow, how much have I grown now? And if it wasn't for that experience, as everyone on the panel shared tonight, I wouldn't be who I am right now, right? I wouldn't be here right now, right? I don't know where I'd be. I'd be somewhere else, right? But I wouldn't be here as I am right now. So that's just a personal little thing I wanted to share with you guys, that no matter how dark and desperate things are, there's always something that you can be massively grateful for, right? And that act of gratitude, it's sexy to the universe, right? And the sexiness of it can't really be put into words, right? But the universe sees that you're trying. The universe sees that you're having faith and hope in the darkest hours, and it rewards you for just staying strong, for just staying in the game, for just keeping your head above water, right? And I promise you, at the other side of that is something so beautiful, so beautiful. And on a business level, and I'm glad Kristen brought this up, because I was going to have a little rant myself, but I always remember this motivational speaker, and I think, I can't even remember what industry he was in, but the words have never left my mind. You know, it was a business type of meeting, and the motivational speaker was, talking, and he must have asked a question of the audience, and this guy stood up, and he was complaining that, my business isn't working, and no, right? And I'll never forget, this guy said to him, "Do you speak English?" Oh, no, sorry, the guy had said, I don't have anything, nothing's working, yada, yada. And the guy said, "Do you speak English?" And the guy's like, "Of course I speak English." And he said, "Do you live in the United States of America?" And the guy's like, "Duh, like here I am, right?" And the speaker said, "Do you know how many people on this planet would love to have the gifts that you already have? You speak English, and you live in the richest, most abundant country in the world." And all of a sudden, right, I'm like, "Ooh, okay, so if you live in a developed country and you speak English, you have everything you need to be successful, right? Everything." And so many people would love to be in our position right now. So as it relates to business, and Kristen basically had on all the points I was going to raise tonight. Basically, I was going to say, be grateful that you speak English. Be grateful that you have access to the internet, right? Be grateful that you have products that you can learn from, right? And the last one I said was, be grateful that you have mentors, right, to show you the way. Sometimes, we can get really stuck in our business complaining and comparing and like, oh, why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? And it's so amazing to be able to have mentors who've gone before you to show you that, look, I was where you were back when, right? And all I did was follow the plan. And all I kept doing was putting one foot in front of the other. And I got to where I am today, right? There are a lot of business environments out there where you don't have what we have here. You don't have the education, and you certainly don't have the mentorship. And there's another thing that a lot of places don't have. They don't have community, right? And that's how I want to end this. And I just want to say I'm so grateful to each and every one of you within this Tilt community for what you bring to us here, right? Because without you, you know, we'd all be kind of like flailing around, you know, just like doing our own thing, like thinking, you know, just there'd be some emptiness there, right? So I just want to end it on that. I'm just so grateful for every single one of you, every beautiful woman on the panel, everyone watching. And if you're new to our Tilt Hour, I'm grateful for you too. I'm grateful for you for taking the time to show up here tonight. You know, you were meant to be here for whatever reason. So, Dance, thank you so much. I love you all so much, and I'll hand it back to Nettie.
Thanks, E. And trust me, we are all so grateful for you too. Tilt wouldn't be what it is without Erica, would it, gang out there? You know that. And thank you for having this dream, and I'm grateful to you that you did have this dream and that you were able to bring all of us with you. It's been a heck of a ride so far. So before we close tonight, there are 3 things that a lot of you, I would love it if you could start to do, and this is going to help with your gratification. If you can start your day off with this, and I wish for the life of me I could remember where I got these. Maybe Zen will remember it, or one of the rest of you, but it sticks in my head that Zen and I were on another webinar and maybe heard this. But anyways, here it goes. Practice these 3 things. Simple 3 things, okay? The first thing is, every day, tell yourself 10 things that you're thankful for. And it can be the simplest of things. Maybe you're thankful that you woke up without an alarm clock, you know, but 10 things every morning. Start your day with that. The second thing is, send love to 3 people who are really bothering you. Send them love. And be thankful that they're in your life, okay? That's the second thing. And the third thing, be quiet for 5 minutes and ask for direction for your day. And if you do these 3 things daily, you will see how the universe works in your life. It's going to be amazing. And on that note, I just want to say thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to close it up because the Empower Hour call is coming on soon. Thank you so much for the last year and a half that you've come and you've attended our Hangouts. And we're not going anywhere. So anytime that you need some help, reach out to one of us. And we're thankful that you do, because we maybe can tell you what you need to hear. And if you're thinking about getting into this business, which I encourage you to do, it will rock your world. It will change your life. Press that button below, that Let's Get Started. Just do it. Do it. And be grateful that you were directed to come here tonight, okay? And if somebody else invited you to this tonight, you get back to that person and make them grateful that they invited you here. But anyways, I encourage you to get started, get on your journey, get on the road to where you're looking at life through different eyes, and you're so grateful for everything. And on that note, I'm going to close it down. We love you all. We will see you here next week, same time, same place, but a different topic, okay? Have a wonderful week, and thank you.